If you have been thinking or saying, I want to do a podcast, but then immediately you think, I'm not techie. I hate my voice. Who would listen? What would I say? If you are a woman over 40, you have things to say. And with my course, the Podpreneur Blueprint, you can get a podcast up and running within a week if you'd like. If you're not techie, don't worry. I give you options of how to find someone that can help you. We are not islands. We don't do this alone. If not now, when? Because on New Year's, when you make that new resolution, this year, I'm going to think about this. You could be saying, this year I did, and I have 52 episodes. You can do this. Learn all about podcasting with the Podpreneur Blueprint System. Go to www.coachlori.com and get your flash sale today. Somebody's praying for an answer, and you have it. Will you say yes? Go to www.coachlori.com. That's L-A-U-R-I-E.
One day I'll get to that part of my life where I can focus on my family. Came and went. I thought I'll have enough money, have enough time later as I build my business and my business grows and I do all the right things. And I realized that when my kids turned adults and they were gone, that I never got to that point because the mountain or the goal just keeps moving or growing and it never ends.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
Welcome, Clem LaFrades. Her podcast YouTube channel is called SlayandShine.com is where you can find her.
Thank you. I appreciate being here, Lori.
First, I want to acknowledge you because I listened to a few of your episodes and I love your style. It's very relaxed. As you know, because I send an email, I have a thing about people saying, you guys and everybody. And I noticed right away, you don't do that. I can't even tell you how inviting it is. I work in radio. I do podcasting. I have to listen to a lot of things. And to have something that's inviting is such a treat. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Your email, when you sent it to me, it really resonated. I was like, this is what I feel, but she put it in words. Okay, Lori, can you describe I know how it feels, but then you eloquently said, this is why people get turned off with the finger pointing and the, you do this and you know how but really, I don't connect that way. And I couldn't figure out why until you sent that email.
Oh, well, thank you. And it was nice to get your response. But what happened for me was I was leaving all these calls and I feel like I'm a pretty evolved person. I'm all about self-growth every day. I'm committed to hours of learning and growing. And yet I was feeling, especially after COVID hit and we were on so many Zooms, I heard about Zoom fatigue. I thought, well, maybe it's this. But then because of my broadcast background, I made the connection and it was so freeing to go, wait a minute. It's not that something's wrong with me. It's that it's not wrong with them either. It's just they don't know how to tell a story and own their story. And when they don't do that, people will feel judged. And I felt judged. And I felt like, I hate the word should, but I felt like I should know better. But my filter wasn't working until I brought it to light. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, that's what's happening.
I think it just became a norm, or maybe how our parents raised us, of how do as I say, but don't do as I do. So we get used to telling stories of you do this way or you know, but I just realized how uncomfortable over the years, and maybe it had a connection to my childhood of being always told what to do and never having a voice and never being able to say what I really felt and how I really think. And so when I speak now, it's, if I want to include other people, I don't want to put myself on a hierarchy or on a pedestal saying, looking down on people saying, you do this and you do that. I say we. If I want to say like a general, maybe a story or an experience I had that I know other people have experienced, I'll say we. But otherwise, I'm going to speak from my perspective or my experience, and hopefully my experience will somehow resonate or land with someone who's going through that same thing. And I don't expect everybody to understand, so I don't want to use you language, or I don't want to assume that everybody has had the same experience as I have. So I like to say, this is what I've been through and this is what I've experienced. And maybe someone has, but in a different way. And so if I try to assume that they have exactly the same, it's off-putting, and it almost feels like I'm being lectured to.
Right? And I love it that you care, because my big mission is, if I can help people speak better and help the people who are listening to be able to feel seen and heard, they're going to learn more from your content. They're going to get more if they can stay longer, or if they can stay longer and pay attention, because I was guilty of staying even though I would check out.
Oh, right.
Because it was maybe a mandatory call for work or for something. I love it that you care. And I love how you said elevation, because I know it's not the intent. Because many of the podcasters, I know them, many of the Zoom leaders, I know them, their intent is they actually think they're including everyone. And there's this thing in marketing that says, if you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. And that's why they're always trying to get us to niche down.
Right.
And yet somehow from marketing to speaking, that loses momentum. And we go back to you guys, everybody. And then we're talking to nobody.
Right. Oh, but thank you for that email. It was helpful.
What brought you to podcasting and doing YouTube, and which came first?
I opened up a YouTube years ago. I think when I look back at all my videos, it was 2000. I don't remember. It was a long time ago when it first started. And I was in fitness back then. So I was doing more fitness videos, and I just loved teaching. And so I was doing it to be helpful and to teach. Back then, we didn't have big YouTube followers, or we didn't care about YouTube like that back then. I just put it out there and was hoping that I could use it to refer back to people who might need it. Cause I get a lot of questions about how do you do this and how do you do that? And instead of like teaching again and again and again the same thing, I'll just send them a video. So that's kind of how that started. Then I dropped it. This is before social media. YouTube was before Facebook and all of that. And then when social media came, I dropped the YouTube. But then now I'm back because I'm getting social media fatigue. It just feels easy, not easier. That's not the word. It feels less cluttery. Like you go to YouTube and you know what you're going for. You know what you want, and you can kind of make your list or see your feed based on what you want to see. So if I do a search on how to be a better podcaster, how to be better course creator or whatever, I'll get more stuff that shows me that. I don't see all of the like, oh, I'm having such a crappy day and the world is such a horrible world and people are just horrible people. YouTube just feels more of what I get to create as my world that I get to live in.
I love that. Did you shift into soul care, or was it just a natural flow from what you were doing?
Good question. It's been an evolution. It's been so many evolutions. It went from fitness and then me tapping into who I am as a business person, and that became like entrepreneurial confidence. And then as life shifted and I closed my gym due to the pandemic, and I decided my priorities, well, I realized and became aware that my priorities were off, just period off. One day I'll get to that part of my life where I can focus on my family came and went. I thought I'll have enough money, have enough time later as I build my business and my business grows and I do all the right things. And I realized that when my kids turned adults and they were gone, that I never got to that point because the mountain or the goal just keeps moving or growing. It never ends. When the pandemic came and I closed my gym, I had like a huge amount of quiet time to really soul search. And I'm also caring for my 95-year-old aunt. It became a barometer almost. Don't let myself get pulled or tempted to put other people first, which I tend to want to nurture and care for all my clients and put all my clients first before my own family and friends. And that's what I did for so many years. And now I have this unique opportunity to just focus on my auntie. She's still here at 95, which most people don't reach. So I'm going to call that a not by accident thing. And she's helping me focus on my own priorities. And what I said I wanted to do all these years was family first, which I didn't do for many years prior. YouTube and podcasting helps me do that. I get to teach and reach more people. I get messages, random messages from people saying that I helped them through something hard and I had no idea. And so I just kind of trust. And that's one thing about the mental health part of it is you can get really caught up on how many people are watching, how many people are liking. You can really get yourself in a bad space, mental health space about it. But I decided that my priority is my family, which is my auntie. Everybody else is who comes. I just trust that universe, God, source, whoever out there in the bigger scheme of things is bringing the shows, the lessons, the episodes to whomever needs it when they need it. And I have to just let that go and let it be.
I love that. I love that wisdom. And I wonder if it comes with age, but I have seen some younger women who have kind of figured it out. And I find myself going, wait a minute, that's not fair. But they probably had a better start than I did. But I love it when this wisdom shows up. I found myself waking up the other day and my thought was, because I'm like you, I want to help everyone. My thought was, who am I if I'm not helping someone?
Ooh, good question. Good awareness. Because we do create labels based on our work, our titles. We identify mostly with how we show up, how we look, how we portray ourselves, and what we do for others and for money or careers. And I remember this quote I learned in my 20s that said, well, not a quote, but a statistic. It said the average person who retires, because back then, nowadays people jump from job to job, company to company, business to business, and it's no big deal. Like you follow your soul and people evolve. We accept that people and things evolve. But back then, when I was younger, people stayed at jobs for 40 years or more. The statistic back then was that when someone retires, their life expectancy is only 7 years past retirement. And when I heard that, I thought, gosh, and that kind of, it planted a seed in me at a young age. I was still in my late 20s when I heard it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But it really made me think about how we don't know ourselves. We don't know our souls. We only know this persona or this avatar that we created in this 3-dimensional space we call Earth. From then, really just started tapping into more mindset, more soul work. And although I was a trainer and still is kind of, as I help my auntie exercise and do the little bit she can so she can still keep walking and go to the bathroom by herself and not be so much of a burden for myself or more work for me. I knew exercise, physical exercise wasn't the main thing. And I just couldn't help my clients put the puzzles together though, because they come wanting superficial. Like, I want to look a certain way. I want to be a certain size. But I knew that without healing on the soul level and the mental, emotional level, I watched it for over 20 years. Like people revert back. I have had clients who lost over 100 pounds, over 80 pounds, and then not heal the internal and end up gaining that and more back. My transition the original question you asked me of the evolution to soul care was that it was just realizing for myself and through working with clients that the soul level, that's where everything starts. And then as I did more research on other cultures and our ancestors, how they believe that we have a soul body, we call it the auric field now, or the life force. Our soul body, which is not seen with our two physical eyes, is where everything starts. And then it manifests into 3D material form. So everything first starts in the unseen world and then comes into the seen world. And so if I can help people with their mental, emotional state, with their soul state, then you can create the body you want. Then you can create the money you want. And then you can create the happiness in your marriage you want. But we're always, as a society, focused on fixing the symptom and not the root.
This message and the thing that you bring is so important, which brings me to my next thought is when you started doing a regular podcast, how often did you do it?
Oh gosh. Okay. So as a Capricorn, I liked everything very structured. And then I get this guilt and shame and kicking myself and shaming myself for not sticking to a structure. But then as I started getting more into my soul work, I realized that as women, we have times of the month. We're not like men. Men are rejuvenated every 24 hours. They are led by the sun. Women, we're more connected to the moon. So we're on a 28-day cycle. We kind of follow the phases of the moon. And there's times a month where we need more rest. And we don't rejuvenate every single night like men do. And so I was very like, oh, I have to make this once a week. I have to do it. I have to do it. And if I don't, I felt guilty. I felt shame. I beat myself up. And now I say, who says that? Who's out there programming us or telling us how to live or telling us that this is the right way and this is the wrong way? And I know statistically you're supposed to post certain days, certain times, and every week or twice a week or even 3 times a week, but I'm more relaxed about it now. I say if my higher self or my soul says there's a message to give, then I'll make that show and I'll put it out. And then I'll let people know that it's out. So I apologize to all those who want one every single week at a certain time.
We are sort of ruled by the algorithm, are we not?
Yeah. But I find that those shows that I make authentically, that came organically, not from a list of topics that I pre-planned a year ago, it feels like it lands better. It has more depth or more richness. You know, when you listen to a show or watch a show, you could feel their genuineness through their voice, the vibration of their voice, through the body language, the emittance. You can feel the energy coming through your screen. But when something's mechanic or planned out or too rigorous or, you could feel that too, or scripted or overly scripted. That's why I don't like scripts. I just want to be led by my spirit, by my soul to where I'm going next.
Well, I love that because what I heard you say in the beginning was that part of you breaking free was to do things differently. And that is what has worked for you. I love it that you're being true to who you are.
Yeah, thank you.
For me, if a podcast gets out of an algorithm, I may never see it again. But if it's something I really like there's this one podcast that I love and they decided to go to every other week. So now every other week I have to remember and want it.
Yeah.
And I go find it because it just doesn't show up. I took a master class in podcasting because unfortunately the teacher makes all those mistakes that I sent you in the email. So vocally, not so great. But as far as using titles that, like you had mentioned, what are people looking for? And then using that in your title and your description to help people find you, to get the amazing content that you have. So for that reason, that was an amazing masterclass. But what drew me to the class was she said, "Are you sick and tired of social media?" And I thought I would love to be off social media. Now I'm not there yet.
Me neither.
But there was really something appealing about that. A lot of times my students, they'll get excited. And then when it comes time to launch, they start questioning themselves. Who's going to listen? Who cares?
Yes.
And I say, it doesn't matter if anybody listens, if you're being prompted to share a message, if you're being prompted to share a story, your job is to do that.
Yeah.
And it's the universe, God's job to bring the people that need to hear the story. But saying yes is so important. But when we begin to question, that's where I feel like that authenticness gets in the way, because all of a sudden now we think, oh, I have to perform. Oh, I have to do it a certain way. And what I love is you really have a different style. Now, I've only listened to a few of yours since I've met you, but I loved your interview when you took your friend for her birthday. I love how casual you are. There's one genre that's always very highly produced, and that's the true crime.
Oh, yes. People love that.
But what I love about it is I love the true crime, but I also love that it is highly produced, because often I have to wade through a lot to get to the content. And so for my listeners, I want to do that for them. I want to wade through the content, edit as best I can so that they can get to the point. And then at the end, sometimes I'll chat with the person a little off script, like something that's maybe not applicable to the interview, but just self-revealing. And if they want to stick around for that, great. If not, that's fine. And I think it's because I work in radio. For instance, I'm a DJ, but I do traffic reporting. So if I was to say, hey, Clem, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in my car. Oh, you're in your car. Well, where are you? Like, just tell me where the accident is and I'll tell you if I'm there. My big thing is hit the road running. And I think that the content is so important. If we could get to it first, then the person can decide, oh, this is what I need. I was just thinking the other day about all the things pulling at us. And I have a lot of friends that send me, they have belief around health, belief around religion, and they send me all their YouTubes that they love. And they're usually about an hour.
Oh.
And I want to be a good friend, but I can't.
I want to be a good friend.
I can't listen to all of them. And if I start to listen, YouTube has this thing where they try to bait you so that you will stay longer. That's the YouTube algorithm. You know that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not the podcast. Podcast is all about downloads. And so I find myself going, get to the point. And that's why I don't listen much to YouTube, because I feel like I'm being baited to get me to listen longer. And my time is really valuable. And if I can listen to a podcast and get the content quickly, I'm going to do that.
I think there's podcasts. There are 1 hour, over an hour podcasts, and I've heard them and I'm like, oh my goodness. I like to be able to listen to one show within an hour, because that's when I get ready and I'm in the shower and I'm not yet fully enthralled in everything else in my life. But I know what you're talking about, because my friend sent me, and I wrote this book, and my book is very short. It's less than an hour.
What's it called?
It's an hour and 6 minutes when I fully recorded it. It's called Awaken Within, Navigating Your Spiritual Journey. My friend she bought the book, and, so there's friends who will just support you. And I don't know if all the time that it's for the message or they need what I have to say. It's just for the support. She was like, oh yeah, I think this is going to be a great book, and I can't wait to listen to it. When she bought it, the next day, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Did you listen to maybe the first chapter? Cause it's only 3 minutes. And she's like, oh no, I haven't. But then she forwards me interview that was over an hour and 45 minutes long. And I thought, oh my gosh, I want to support, because she's really passionate about, like you said, your friends want you to listen to this stuff because they really love it. And I tried, and I did 45 minutes of it, and it was good. It wasn't bad or anything, but I'm like, I can't. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe I could in the background of me doing other things, but I personally, when I'm in something, like if I'm in a book, if I'm in a show, I want to glean what I don't want to miss. I felt like, I wish I could, because there was some good stuff, but then it is like you're weeding through a lot of the weeds to get to the golden nuggets. And so I really like keeping my show to 35, 45 minutes max. And sometimes I do have guests that go over, and I'm like, how do I edit this down?
Which is so great, because when podcasting is often made for commuters, Well, Clem, we are out of time,
Yes.
but I want to give you a few minutes to tell us where we can get your book and your podcast.
SlayandShine.com. It is Slay and Shine Inner Peace Soul Care. So I do meditations. I help you journal. I help you manage your energies through the changing ebbs and flows of the earth's energies, mostly really quiet yourself so you can hear from your own inner wisdom, because we're so, as a society, we've been so programmed to just search outside of ourselves. Social media, the government, churches, we're always, the power's out there, but the power's not in here. My whole mission and goal is to just help people tap into the God essence that's within you, the divinity within you, so you can be led by your truth, by your calling, by your purpose. It's Awaken Within, Navigating Your Spiritual Journey, which is on my website, slayandshine.com. Yay, thank you for having me, Lori.
Thank you so much.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.